Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Jack Denmo Show. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than the other ones. It's going to be a monologue for a lot of it because there have been some recent events that I think that a lot of you guys can find some interesting takeaways from. Today we're going to be talking about something that happened recently. So I guess we'll jump right into it. A couple days ago, my mom died. She passed away at the age of 61. In her sleep. And for those of you out there that have lost a parent, you know what it's like. It just hits you completely out of the blue. It's like getting hit by a truck in your blind spots. You know, as we grow up, we never realize that our parents will leave us one day, especially when they're young and healthy. And 61, all things considered, is very young because most people nowadays, they live to about 80, 90. My dad's still alive. He's 65, 66. And women generally outlive men by about 8-9 years. So it's very shocking. One contrast I'll give is that I've had family members pass away before, grandparents specifically. And whenever they pass away, it's generally expected because their health slowly declines over time. Their memory will go. They won't be as mobile. They will be in a home that they have to be cared for. And slowly they degenerate, and you get to see it. You get to be there with them, and you get to have, the best way to put it would be you get to prepare for it, if that makes sense. You know it's coming, and you can voice all your final thoughts, words, your love for them, and basically make peace with them before they rest, because you know it's coming. It still hurts, but it's much more gradual and slow and manageable. But when a parent dies out of nowhere and they're healthy, sharp, and it's completely unexpected, it's a totally different feeling. It's like you were robbed. It's like they took something from you that didn't deserve to be taken. And it's always very sketchy because you never know what terms you're on with that person when they pass away, right? Like, I really feel for people out there that are on bad terms with somebody, particularly somebody that's a parent or a family member, and then that person passes away because they pass away potentially holding some kind of anxiety in their head that you don't love them, that you don't like them, that you're angry at them. And that can also often lead to death sometimes. People can get anxiety and stress, and especially as they get older, their heart can give out. I know there's statistics out there that a partner of somebody that passes away is likely to pass away much sooner afterwards once their partner passes away. Just like retirement, basically when people have a lack of purpose, they can't live anymore. And a lot of old people are like that when their partner dies. Now, one thing about what I'm getting at with the death of the parent is it's very important that your parents know that you love them unconditionally and that you're on good terms with them. Even if they've done something to you, gotten into an argument about something, maybe they don't like your partner who you're with, they don't like your job, whatever it is, you have to really forgive them. But at the end of the day, you have to let your family know that you always do love them, because God forbid you're on bad terms with them and you're not there to let them know that you do love them. And then the rest of your life, you're kind of haunted by the idea of like, fuck, what if I told them that I was there for them, right? Now, I say this about mostly older generations because younger people, they have a lot more runway. Like, there's people I'm on bad terms with that are in their 20s, 30s, right? I'm not really worried that they're going to pass away, but it does actually give me perspective that even them, they deserve my forgiveness. They deserve to be at rest. I like to think I'm a very good person and that I don't have anybody in my life that I cause anxiety. I don't think I have anybody that I actively bully or cause stress on that would be in a position where I would have tremendous guilt if they passed away, because it would be partially due to me feeling regrets that I wish I was better to them. I like to think I'm very good to everybody, but I know that there's a lot of people out there that aren't, whether it's like an ex-girlfriend, an ex-boyfriend, somebody that stole from them, hurt them physically, somebody that fired them, somebody that, I don't know, betrayed them as a friend. There's a lot of reasons people become enemies or don't like each other, and they hold it against them. It's very weird because, normally I never think about this kind of thing. This kind of thing just flies right over my head. But when you lose somebody that is very important to you and you don't really get to have that final conversation with them, it really leaves you scratching your head of like, coulda, shoulda, woulda said something, right? Now, my mom herself, so my mom passed away at the age of 61, and she was very healthy. She was exercising regularly. She did have diabetes, and she had heart issues in the past. She went through periods of her life where she didn't have a healthy lifestyle. She was eating poorly, I suppose, which is bad as a diabetic. She did smoke for a number of years, but she was exercising regularly. She had a clean diet. And physically, health-wise, the doctor essentially said that, like, yeah, her health is in really good condition. She seemed very sharp. The last time I spoke to her, actually, it was funny because she saw me in the newspaper. I was in the front page of the Toronto Star for my participation in the homecoming events. And she was very proud of me. And the reason she was proud of me wasn't because of the context in which I was in the article, but because she was up to speed with my game plan for what I want to do. And part of what I want to do is troll newspapers into putting me in them to create a spectacle to drive traffic to me and then hear what I really want to do. So she knew what was going on behind the scenes. Most people don't, but she was very up to speed with all that. So anyways, we talked about that. She was very proud of me. We also spoke about a Halloween costume. I was trying to find a wig for my girlfriend's costume, and I asked her to check my old car because my old car is parked at my parents' house out in the bush because we're going to explode it in the coming weeks. Now that I've kind of told you guys about what's happened, what I'm going to do is break down a couple things that you probably haven't experienced but will experience when you do have to deal with somebody passing away close to you. And this is more on the logistical side because these are things that you never think of, never prepare for, and I think that they're extra traumatic when you have to figure them out on the fly as opposed to being aware of them. So one is the phone call itself. You're going to get a phone call usually from another family member, and they're going to tell you in tears that somebody's dead. Your mom is dead, your dad is dead, whatever. And you're going to have to basically stay calm enough on the phone as to keep the person on the other end of the line calm as well. Because perhaps you're across the country, you're in another province, you're a couple hours away, you're at work. You might not be able to get to that person. My circumstance, I got a phone call at 7 a.m. My dad, he's like, he's freaking out, obviously. And he's like, I think your mom's passed away. The ambulance is on the way. And I was like, I'm on my way right now. I hopped in my car, drove right down to Caledonia, which is the town my parents live in, about 30 minutes away. I was there in 20 because I sped. As I entered the driveway, the ambulance was already there, and the medics were exiting the house. And when the medics walk by and you're walking up the driveway, there's a quiet communication going on via eye contact where you look at each other and you know if the person is alive or not. You don't even have to say anything. So we exchanged looks. I walked right by and went into the house, and then I hugged my family member that was there, and we had our it's something else, guys. You walk in and it kind of kicks in, and you see the other person there, the family member, and they are feeling it much harder than you are because you're still you're physically moving, you're actively entering into the house, but they've been there and they're soaking it in. So that's a big wall of emotions once you get in there. There's police there. The police are there in a strange way because they have to be there in case there was misconduct or foul play. So the police are there and they're in investigator mode, which is fucked up, but I do understand because people do commit murders. But they're there basically collecting information, taking statements. They're looking for evidence, however the person passed away. They're looking for, okay, well, were there drugs involved? Is there a weapon? Preliminary stuff. So that was very weird. Anyways, so you have to go through that, usually a couple hour process. Me, in my situation in particular, my other family members were very far away. I'm the only one that lives close. So it was just us. And I had an opportunity to go upstairs to my mom's room and see her body, which in a weird way is an experience I do recommend, because I think that a lot of people are going to be in the position where they enter a loved one's house when they've passed away and they don't go into the room, they don't see them, and then they regret that because they don't have that final moment with their parent, right? So I got to have that. Now, I will preface this by saying I had a previous podcast where I had a guy on that volunteers as a volunteer firefighter, Phil Demers, and we were talking about his job and that he sometimes, on occasion, pulls bodies out of the river he lives near because people drown, and a firefighter's job is to remove the body from the scene. And so he's pulled a lot of bodies out, and he says they always have this look on their face, and it's wide eyes. Their eyes are bulging out wide, their mouth is open with shock and horror, because it's essentially the last thing they're feeling when they pass away is just pure shock, horror, terror, and fear. Their eyes are bulging, their mouth is open, and that's what drowning is like. You literally, your last breath before you perish, you're terrified, right? And he actually said to me, and ironically, the last thing they see before they pass away is their mom, right? Because that's the first thing you see when you enter the world. Anyways, though, so I had this image in my head of what to expect as I entered this room. And I've seen bodies before, so it's, I'm a little different. I worked in a factory where I had to see animal bodies all the time, so it kind of numbed me to an extent. But anyways, I entered the room, and I saw my mom, and she looked different than I expected. She had her eyes closed, and her mouth was only open just a little bit. And when my dad found her, her hands were at her side, and her head was just gently tucked over like that. So in layman's terms, it looked like she was sleeping, right? And what that means is that she didn't have that last second or moment of shock and fear. She didn't have any terror. She died very peacefully. And there is something beautiful about that, despite it being a tragedy. That's the sunlight through the clouds. She didn't pass away with any stress, horror, shock, or anything like that. She essentially died in her sleep, which is what most people would consider the best way to die. The exact cause was a heart attack. So she basically had a colossal heart failure while she was asleep, which means her heart just stopped. And this is something that happens a lot, especially as people get older. They just get a brain aneurysm or a stroke or a heart attack while they're asleep. And essentially they never know what hits them. And so that's how she passed away. She did have a stint a couple years ago, which was she had a heart problem and she had something operated on in her heart, but she's very healthy. After that, I had to go pick up some other family members. We all came to the house, spent the rest of the day. And it was very emotional, but when a parent or close family member dies to you, but you have other family members that you have to take care of that are also reacting, it really turns something on in you that you don't expect to be there. It essentially forces you to take control of the situation and to be the leader in making sure everybody else is okay, in making sure that everybody else stays calm, doesn't go too off the rails and get upset, because it's a very emotional moment. You basically go into crisis control. And there's the old saying by Jordan Peterson, which I thought of in the moment, be the leader people go to in times of crisis, right? Now, I was absolutely a mess, right? It's my mom. But I was able to unlock a certain part of myself that I think everybody will eventually unlock in themselves too. But they don't expect themselves to be able to, in just being able to be pragmatic about the situation and talk to everybody, take care of them, and I guess, hold face and then suffer the fallout in private, right? So for me, it was, I was able to keep it together. I definitely had my tears shed, but I quickly took control of my emotions. Now, what really got me was afterwards. I was gone the whole day dealing with family stuff. Nobody knew about this besides my family. But I went back to normal life. And when I entered my house, where my friends also live with me, they had no idea what had gone on. So to them, it was just, hey, how's it going? Good. How are you? But they knew something was off with me. And so anyways, I went to my office and started working and started writing the eulogy and doing all that. And, one of my roommates came down and he's like, hey, like, you seem a little off. Like, you came into the house, like, what's wrong? And that's what got me. I just broke down, because I basically then had to explain what had happened. Whereas family members, there's nothing that needs to be said. They know what you're going through, right? But when you have to explain it, that's what brings the waterworks out. So I had to do that, which is very tough, right? You never want to open up that emotionally to a stranger or even a friend or a best friend, a roommate, because you're so vulnerable in the moment, right? So that was something that I had experienced. I did that with my two roommates, one at a time. And it brought the emotion out of them too, because, I can only imagine what it's like to hear when your best friend's parents die, right? I've had friends that parents have passed away, but a couple days have gone by when I heard about it, or they told me over the phone, or, they're in another province, something like that. But this was direct. I can only imagine that feeling of terror, knowing that somebody I know that's such a good person would randomly lose their parent on short notice out of nowhere. That would really get me too, right? It's an awful feeling. I spent the weekend with my family, sorting everything. The house itself is very weird, guys. When somebody passes away in the house you're living in, their stuff is everywhere. We just got a new dog. My parents, it was like 6 months old. So there was like a dog exercise book that was like halfway through, and then the paper was rolled over and it was sitting on the couch because my mom was reading it. Weird stuff like that. That's something that's going to be weird for you guys, because you're going to walk into every room and you're going to see something that reminds you of that person, especially if it's your mom, because moms decorate the entire house. That's a very weird thing. So we had to deal with that. Obviously letting people know. And then there's that weird point where everybody's reaching out to you, giving their condolences, which obviously always give your condolences. And I was really amazed, and I felt amazed at how many people cared about my mom, but also cared about me and my well-being. People I haven't heard from in years, people I haven't spoken to in a long time. Finally, it was an excuse for people to basically say that they have unconditional love for me, they have support for me. And it's weird how life works like that. We wait till somebody passes away to let others know that we really care about them. And obviously, first and foremost, the person that actually passes away is the main person that's impacted this, because you want them to know that you're there for them and love them prior, because sometimes people get upset and they take their own life. They overdose, or they find some other means of exiting this earth, and you have regret, like, what if I just called them? What if I spoke to them? What if I did something for them? So that's the main reason you should always give everybody unconditional love. But what's beautiful about when somebody passes away is that you have a reason to text them, because most people have unconditional love for their friends, family members, but they never tell them because they never think it's important until that person is really down, and that's when they bring that love. But the only thing closer to that I can think of is a birthday. And realistically, birthdays aren't even that great. So anyways, that's something that's weird. One thing I will say too is it was actually how people reacted to it that cracked me up the most. My own family, I could keep it together for their sake, but something about seeing the look on somebody's face when they know what happened and they want to tell you that they're sorry, but they know that it's so awful that it makes them upset. It's like looking at a deer. The eyes are watery, feeble. It's almost like they're the one that had the family member pass away. And it's very awkward. Anyways, moving along, after somebody passes away, you do two things. You do visitation, and then you do the actual funeral service. So visitation is when you get the body in a casket, open or closed, and then you take them to a funeral home. People come, pay their respects, tributes, there's photos, and it's a good time. Basically, it's like a celebration of life, kind of. People that were friends of you, the family member that passed away themselves, they all come and they give their condolences, and the whole family's there. So everybody that came got to meet my entire family, which was very interesting because you're basically walking in a line telling people my condolences, and then there's this awkwardness where they say, well, thank you, and then there's not much else to talk about because a lot of the people there don't know each other, right? So there's this weird, like, what can you really say? What can you really say to somebody when their loved one passes away? There's not much. And I never realized that until I was on the other end of it. It's very awkward and very weird. But the best advice I would give is to make it somewhat of a positive experience. So if you smile, other people will smile. If you are taking it well, making jokes, you give them more leeway because they are going to be very nervous and anxious about talking about anything else. They're not going to be like, well, the weather's nice, eh? They're not going to do anything like that unless you basically let them know, like, hey, like, we can talk about other stuff and you don't have to just slump and be depressed. After that, there's the funeral service itself, which is where everybody goes to the church, close family. And then there's a eulogy where the people from the church speak. My father spoke, I spoke. My other family members did hymns and poems. And you get to speak to about 400 people that were very close to your loved one. And, sometimes funerals will be usually smaller than that. My mom knew, like, everybody. So she was very, very loved and respected in the community. So she had, there's people that flew out to be there. It was crazy. But you get to basically go up on stage in front of all these people and then be like, yeah, my mom died. Here's how we remember. And then you give a big speech, and it's definitely something else. I've done a lot of public speaking. My dad's done a lot of public speaking too, because he was in the corporate world for a while. Obviously, my job is to be in front of thousands of people all the time. So I have a lot of experience in that sense, but it was definitely one of the hardest speeches I've ever given, right? Now, as far as the actual speech itself, it was very humor-based. It was a lot of funny stories. I worked the crowd a lot because the idea of a funeral is more of a celebration of life as it is like, let's all be sad. Obviously, there's a lot of people crying there, especially when music is played. There's pictures, and it's awful, right? The whole thing is just awful. But what you want to do, and this was advice my dad gave to me, is spin it in a positive way. So we basically told stories of how much we like this person, almost as if they still are there. And in a weird way, it does feel like my mom is still there. I just feel like she's out in her garden somewhere and taking care of the dogs. But it is definitely something that comes in waves, and it'll go through. But yeah, so that's how I got through it. Those are the lessons I learned. And once again, for those of you out there, basically all I'm saying is call your mom and tell her you love her, because at any given moment she could pass away, and you want her to know that you have unconditional love for her in case she does. The last thing you want is to be on bad terms. Same with your dad. Call your dad too. I only have one grandparent left, and she knows that I support and love her unconditionally, right? But I know a lot of people go years without talking to those people. And like I said, the grandparents are kind of expected to pass away, but a parent, you never see it coming. Like, I'm in my 20s, right? Like, my mom was only 61. And then also to those that do have a loved one that has somebody close to them pass away, absolutely reach out to them. Say that you can do anything for them. One thing that's unique about my situation is I have a huge support network. I have hundreds of people that would stop what they're doing, drive for whatever reason, and do whatever I needed them to. But a lot of people don't. And you might think that they have somebody there. Like, you might have a friend that to you is a friend you see sometimes, but to them, you're their best friend. You're the only one that's there for them. And you might be the only one that offers to be like, hey, if you need to get on the phone, if you need me to pick something up, you could be the only one, right? There's a lot of us that have people in our lives that think the world of us and we would be the only person that they could rely on in that kind of thing. But you wouldn't think that when you ask. So all I'm saying is offer everybody whatever you can do. Even if it's like your neighbor, you've only known him 2 days, just be like, yo, do you want me to pick you up from work? Whatever. Anyways, so that's all said and done with. And my mom was great. She loved my videos. She would brag to everybody that would listen about what I did for a living. And, you know, she knew about the master plan behind the scenes. She wanted me to be a teacher. And now, in a way, I am teaching because I have this podcast. I have Denmo Social. I have the advice videos I do. So it's a beautiful thing, you know, and she was very proud of me. So I'm very happy about that. Anyways, that's what it's like dealing with the loss of a parent. Now, we can move this show forward, I guess on more lighter terms. But
I just want to cry right now. Like,
yeah, I know.
What a way to start it off.
I know. It's pretty much the most grim episode of a podcast ever.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on all that, buddy? I know that you've been holding it in for about 20 minutes.
Buddy, I'm just glad I didn't cry. Like, Dean would expose me like that. But no, that was emotional, man. I think you're saying something that is going to be beneficial to people who haven't experienced that. And I don't know, maybe kind of warms them up to it because it's something that we're probably all going to go through if we haven't already at this point.
Yeah.
Man, I love my mom so much. Like, I'm such a mama's boy. I can't even imagine like losing her like you did. Like, I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it, bro. Like, and it's one of those things like I went to the visitation and like, I'm not good with death. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's such an awkward moment, but I think you're like handling it in a really like stoic way and kind of seeing like, you know, some rays of sunshine, some positivity and all that. Yeah. I'm getting emotional right now, bro.
You feel that?
Yeah, dude. Can we laugh now? Like, can we say some funny shit now?
Well, I was about to segue into, I think I understand now why people that go to war while they're at war, they're so lighthearted and happy and kind of easygoing because they've kind of accepted that at any moment they could just die. There's a movie called Hurt Locker. You ever seen that movie?
Is that the one with like the bomb technician?
Bomb guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was very weird because I was watching it and it's all these guys and they're, you know, they all are best friends essentially. They're all been training together for a long time. And they're stuck in this pit in the desert and they're getting picked off by a sniper. And every time one of them dies, they don't stop what they're doing, hug the body, or even check the body. They just completely emotionlessly, okay, buddy's dead, grab his gun, we have to shoot now. And it's very weird, like the calmness and the almost like it doesn't matter demeanor, almost as if like they didn't just die, you know. That was really weird. But I think that that's what happens in war times because like if you are emotional during those times of war, it could potentially result in your whole platoon getting killed. If you go to check on a body of somebody that dropped openly and slowly and you let it soak in, you'd be exposing your body to whoever shot that bullet, right? It's one of those weird situations that like I said, like until it happens to you, you don't really realize that you're capable of that. Now, obviously this is different context. Like I wasn't at war, but yes, that is basically what stoicism is. You know, Marcus Aurelius, he would always say like you should live every day as if it is your last. And obviously that doesn't mean much nowadays because life's pretty good and easy. But back then, at any given moment on 5 minutes notice, the village, kingdom, whatever civilization there was could just get ransacked and destroyed. The only way people let others know is one guy would ring a bell, the other guy would get on a horse, run into town and scream. And that's the only way people knew. It's been a very tragic month, actually. There's been a lot of tragedies lately. Several people have passed away. Yeah. Anyways, one thing that happened recently, actually, that's pretty fucked up because it involves tragedy as well. The same weekend, so this was about a week ago, my mom passed away, but 2 days later, there was a concert in Texas, the Travis Scott concert. And for those that aren't up to speed, my understanding is this guy threw a huge festival concert. I think there's 40,000 people there, something like that. Yeah. So it was a bit bigger than a Western Hoco. Just a bit. And essentially, Travis Scott has a history of encouraging people to push past security, sneak in, blast into the VIP section, and jump on the stage. But we see why it's not fun. I think there was something like 50 to 100 injuries, but there was 8 deaths.
Yeah, bro.
8 people died because Travis Scott is a fucking idiot and essentially allowed it to happen indirectly through his actions. So we've been in a position where we've been at the helm of crowds of 10 to 30,000 people and not as organized, actually. In fact, way less organized. We've been at the helm of, singing a Canadian national anthem in front of 5,000 to 8,000 people in large crowds. And this was nothing like anything we've ever experienced.
I was seeing some clips on TikTok and just saw some horrifying things. Like the first thing I saw is, like you said, people like sneaking into the concert, but it's not like they were like climbing a fence low key or like, sneaking in through like a side entrance, holding a ladder. They collapsed a fence and then just started flooding in, and like people were walking on people who fell over. People bum rushed that fallen fence so fast that people like tripped on the fence and people were just trampling them, climbing over them. Like a crowd of hundreds, maybe thousands of kids just pouring in. Yeah. And like they're like walking on people.
Yeah.
It was insane. And then there's other clips of like in the crowd, like you can see how uncomfortable people are, even like before the sun went down, like early in the festival. It's like, whoa, this might be a little too crowded, a little too lit.
I saw some awful clips, man. I've been to a fuckload of concerts, festivals, Hokos. Man, Hokos are so peaceful compared to this. Like,
oh yeah,
there's so much space, there's so much breathing room, and literally, like, not even figuratively, breathing room. These people couldn't breathe because they were all jammed in. And essentially what happens during a mosh pit that gets out of control, like the Travis Scott one, is that people get stuck to each other. They have no space. They're like matches in a matchbox. And it'll get to the point where you actually will lift off the ground because you're pressed in between others. Mm-hmm. And when they move, you move with them. You can't even stand. And if you're short, you're not at the top of the crowd and you get lower and lower, right? Because you rub down. Like being a girl in that would be awful because you basically get squished by everybody. And that's if you're on your feet, right? So if you're a short person on your feet, you can't breathe. There's no space. You can't move. You have no strength. And there's no means of you yelling because the people around you can't move. And there's a concert playing right now.
It's chaos, man.
It's literally a death trap.
Even if the people around you wanted to help you, they're like, I can't move either.
No, they can't.
They can't even like lift you up. There's like people were like sardined in there.
The only people that can do anything, these are the best guys at rock shows. Guys like Zed, pretty much.
Right.
This 300-pound, 6'5" guys that just move people. And at mosh pits, it's very common. People are like throwing themselves into each other. People are getting thrown around. They're drunk. Like sometimes people fall over. The big guys grab the people, pick them up off the ground. Or when somebody's crowd surfing, the big guys catch them, make sure they don't fall and break their neck. If somebody gets KO'd, they move everybody aside, gently help them up. Essentially, they're like security guards and bouncers, but they're also fans. So those are the guys in the crowd. Those guys are clutch at Hoko too. Unless you're one of those guys, you're not moving, right? Because moving would require so much organization. We're talking hundreds of meters out because it's packed so tight. Nobody can even get fucking any kind of momentum. The only person who can address and do something about it is the person on stage. And they completely failed to do that upwards of 40 minutes after an emergency was declared. They kept singing, they kept performing, and they didn't address it at all. And because of that, 8 people died.
Bro, I've been to some concerts front row, like pretty lit concerts, front row. Mm-hmm. I've been in that situation where like people are pushing you forward. But I think the big difference is like at those concerts, there's always been like a swaying to the crowd where it'll move like forward and back and side to side. So the crowd kind of breathes. But I think because so many people snuck into this festival, that crowd wasn't able to breathe. And so many people were trying to push forward to the front that everyone, the closer you got to the front, the more compacted you got, I I saw a horrifying clip of this girl being like picked up over the fence to like escape the crowd. She was unconscious, and like people were like grabbing her legs. And then at one point, she got over the fence, but no one grabbed her head or her upper torso, and she fell completely like on her head.
Fuck, man. Really?
Yeah, it was like horrifying to witness.
How far did she fall?
Like definitely 6 feet.
Oh,
like head first, unconscious. Like people are calling it a satanic ritual, eh?
Yeah, I saw that conspiracy. Yeah, fucking Travis Scott's into all this weird satanic shit, and I get it. He's an artist. He's very peculiar and specific to detail, and you know, Jimmy Page used to write about satanic shit, but like,
you took it a little too far there, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to do some satanic shit, but like, you know, I think he's just being an asshole, man. The guy's been doing this for years. There's a clip circulating of, you know, he jumps and crowd surfs, and then he accuses somebody of grabbing his shoe, and he basically isolates that person in the microphone, and he stops the concert. He tells everybody there to beat the guy and hit him. So they see a guy in the corner there, and everybody's just smacking this guy. And this guy is between the fence, security, and then just really pissed off fans doing whatever Travis Scott says.
It's a mob mentality at that point.
No, well, it's not just a mob mentality. He's literally yelling at them, hit this guy.
Yeah.
And he's doing it rhythmically, like beat this man, beat this man. He spit on the guy numerous times. And then I think somebody threw something at him, and then security grabbed the guy, threw him out of there. And that guy was all fucked up.
Some dark shit.
Super dark, right?
Yeah.
Now, you know, the silver lining there is that he stopped a concert because somebody attempted to grab his shoe, but he didn't stop a concert when he saw a dead, unconscious body be lifted right in front of him, right?
Yeah.
Did you see that clip?
I didn't. So I was going to say, I haven't seen clips like that. I've seen clips of what was happening in the crowd, but I haven't seen anything from Travis's point of view. Like, maybe it's devil's advocate, but I know the lights are bright up there. There's a lot of sound. He's probably got someone talking in his earpiece saying like, hey, here's the next song. Like, is there not like a stage manager or like some operations manager at this fucking concert being like, yo, people are dying. Maybe we should cut the sound, cut it short. Like,
they definitely share the responsibility. Is it all on
Travis, or like, is there not an entire team running a giant festival?
No, it's not entirely on Travis. A lot of it is on the security and whoever was in the headpiece. But that was a question I had, you know, maybe he didn't see, maybe it was bright, blah, blah, blah. But the people of the internet know better. And what they did was, everybody that's ever been to a concert remembers what happens when they go to a concert. If somebody threw a drumstick, who caught it, whatever. Everybody remembers concerts where somebody OD'd, there was a fight, there was an assault, and the band playing stopped, right? And this has happened in the internet era. So essentially what happened immediately after that concert, when people were saying, hey, like maybe he didn't see, dozens, if not hundreds of video clips started to surface of other acts pausing concerts. And I saw like 12 of them in like 10 minutes of looking. So for example, the Foo Fighters, two dudes were fighting. Dave Grohl immediately stopped the song, said stop fighting, and he pointed out the people that were fighting, kicked them out of the show. Avenged Sevenfold, somebody got knocked out in the mosh pit, was out cold on the ground, stopped the entire show, said, hey guys, let the paramedics come in, deal with it. And then they actually took a break after. They're like, okay, we're going to go off stage now, and then we're going to come back and finish our set. Linkin Park did the same thing. Kurt Cobain, a girl was getting groped. He saw some chick just get her boob randomly grabbed, stopped the whole show. Lights went on. Adele, she did the exact same thing. Billie Eilish, a girl was ODing. She did the exact same thing. KSI, the YouTuber, he's not even a musician. He's like a, you know, well, I guess he is. I don't know.
He's something.
He's something. But anyways, for like a week or two ago, he stopped the concert because somebody was overdosing, and he saw the guy having like a seizure.
Oh, shit.
Got off the stage, made sure they were okay.
I've been to local punk shows where it's happened, man. Like, shout out Boston Manor. They stopped the show, too.
Lil Pump, he even gave a speech about, guys, if you're going to do drugs, drink water. Don't be having a seizure. Like, everybody knows what to do. It's so obvious. Like, I've been in front of tens of thousands of people staring up at me at an unsanctioned event. We have seen many people get carried out. We've seen people get put into a shopping cart and pushed out. I've seen people collapse. I've seen people hanging out of trees, and I've yelled, somebody catch this guy, make sure there's people underneath. You don't have to jump. Like, I'm all for a good time. I'm all for somebody voluntarily jumping through a table. But it's very easy and obvious when somebody's in danger, and he totally could have stopped it, right? Like, no musicians are going to come out and say that. No fucking celebrities are going to come out. Like, everybody around him is doing damage control right now. They're going to wait for this to blow over. But the reality is, there's so many examples of people that had the exact same circumstances and prevented it from happening before it even got close to that level. All it took was one person to be assaulted, to be collapsed, to have a seizure. This guy visibly saw people unconscious carried out in front of him, and he just let it happen. I don't know what his statement's been, but like, you know, based on past performances and things this guy said, like, you know, he seems like a real piece of shit.
Dude, is there any coming back from this? Like, is there anything he can do to like redeem himself at this point? Like, what if he drops Astro World Part 2? Like, would that be enough?
You know, it's awful, but people will move on from it and forgive him. You know, he'll just say some corny shit. Here's what evil people do, guys. If you want to spot an evil person, they will fuck up tremendously and then come out right afterwards and be like, oh, sorry, guys. Whoops. It was an accident. That's awful. And then everybody gets one get out of jail free card, to the public perception anyways. But like, you got to look for the people that do this over and over and over again. They consistently do a huge fuck up, and then they come out, sorry, whoops, how can I make this right? But they fully knew what they were doing in the first place, right? It's a classic narcissistic, somebody else has to point out what I did wrong situation, right? You see it all the time. And famous people are celebrated for it, right? There's a lot of famous people that will fuck up over and over again, but people will still want to see them fight. They'll support them. It's almost like if you're famous, you get away with shit, you know, and Travis Scott's totally going to get away with it.
That's tough, buddy. I think though, like maybe he is possessed at this point. That was a satanic ritual, but I don't think any like human can go through that and be like an orchestrator of an event where that many awful things happen and like come out unscathed. Like, I think I would hope that he has a soul and this like impacts him in a great way and like he changes his shit, bro. That is unacceptable.
Probably will, but 8 fucking people, man. Dude. Like, it's not one person, it's 8 people.
Yeah.
It's 8 people, dude. I mean, it's awful, you know. And we have direct experience in like being in fucking like huge parties and huge crowds and people that are all purposely binge drinking or experimenting with drugs. Like, never seen anything like this, man.
Does this guy think he's invincible though? Like, does he think like he can just stand up there on the stage? Like, I saw videos, people were saying like, stop the show. I don't know if you could hear that or not up on stage, but he says into the mic like, y'all know what you came here to do. Like, let's rage. Put your middle fingers in the sky, and then starts playing a song.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts, dude.
But dude, like,
maybe he's just an idiot, dude. Like, maybe he's just so stupid that he didn't understand the possibility people would die. Like, maybe he's just as a low IQ.
Can you be that successful
imbecile
and be stupid? Like, are musicians that are that good that stupid? Because bro, he is a great rapper.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I was devil's advocate for a while, but then, dude, like, literally there's hundreds of other acts stopping their shows. Guy's a weasel.
Yo, you know Roger Waters from Pink Floyd went through some similar shit.
Really?
I don't think people died at a Pink Floyd concert, but it was around the time where Animals came out, right before The Wall. And someone in the crowd like threw a coin up at him on the stage. And apparently he like spit on these fans, like had a huge hissy fit on stage, was like calling people in the crowd, like beat the shit out of that guy, like doing some Travis Scott shoe level things.
Fuck.
It actually like drove him into such a deep depression and basically isolated himself and thought like, what have I become? You know, his band took off. He was like living the rock star life, but he became in his own head. He was like, I'm like a fascist leader. Like someone does something I don't like and I spit on them and tell my followers to beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Like, that's some dark.
There is something scary
that's some
about
dark stuff, man.
Having that much power in that moment.
Yeah.
Because you
control the mob.
Yeah.
Like, imagine 50,000 people are there for you.
Yeah, man.
You tell them to do something, they'll do it. Like, some pretty dark energy, man. And Roger Waters was there. He took that, got really depressed, and wrote The Wall.
Oh, that's what led to The Wall.
Yeah.
Wow. Did that person die?
We don't know.
No.
They're unaccounted for at this point.
When you are in front of thousands of people, you do have the power to get them to beat on somebody, fight police, flip cars, if you will. You do have the power to control that. Once in a while, there is somebody that's like, fuck you, society. You know, somebody that gets the power and then they become evil, you know? and they're just projecting what was done to them by their parents or high school or whatever. It's always like, people that were hurt themselves. But I think a lot of it's also mental illness, man.
Yeah.
Just the lack of empathy, for Travis's situation. Fuck, man. He probably just didn't care. I know the Who and the Rolling Stones, they had a free concert back in the day, and they got in heat for it because, Hell's Angels were involved. Thanks, Dean.
Shout out, Dean.
Tip of my tongue. Yeah, same thing. I think a couple people died. It was a free concert, and it was the 60s. And
in the middle of buttfuck nowhere.
I want to say there was no deaths at Woodstock. Like maybe 1 or 2 overdoses.
It's a miracle, bro.
But comparatively, yeah, crazy.
Yo, do you think concerts will ever be the same after this? Like, that's pretty bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, are they ever going to allow concerts to be that lit ever again?
That's a big wake-up call and learning lesson. Like, we saw this coming to an extent. But, like, fuck, man. I don't know. That is going to change a lot. And we do live in a world where people in higher places are waiting for stuff like this to happen to be like, guys, okay, we can't do concerts anymore, right?
Do you think Schmovid played a role in that?
That's
like
exactly what I was
thinking. Locking people up
thinking.
for a year.
Yeah.
Travis is dropping bangers the whole time. And then, the first Astro Fest back, like, people had that pent-up rage in them. You think that has a role in it?
Yeah, I think it does. Somebody made a good point. They're like, this is a very accurate representation of the worst part of our current generation. People are fucked nowadays. We are all about pulling our phones out, snapping crazy shit. We're more likely to take a video of a body being moved than we are to participate in an effort to help that not happen, right? Like, there was a handful of people that made their way through the crowd, ran up to the stages that the cameramen were on, and then begged the cameramen stop the show. And there's a camera guy, there's a video of him, and he's filming, and this woman is freaking out next to him saying, hey, like, you need to stop the show. Like, there's people dead right here. There's a girl that's passed out. She's getting trampled. The camera guy just kept filming, man. And I think a lot of those people that were mossing, they didn't give a fuck about the people around them. I've been to shows, and I know what it's like to be in a crowd, and people try to push you to get a better seat at the stage. And there's no accountability, because when you're in the middle of the crowd, like, nobody's really paying attention. Nobody knows anybody. So you can easily just shove somebody, push them, and then keep going through the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And we saw what happened with Matt Coco, though. You lock people up for a year, or what do? They fucking rage. They flip cars, hate on police. Like, absolutely, there was a lot of that there. I think that was, like, the first big concert that's recently happened. I don't even know. Like, we're in Canada, guys. Like, this shit doesn't happen. Like, Hoko is the littest thing that's happened in 3 years. Arguably ever, to be honest.
Potentially. You invented it, too. Speaking of Hoko, buddy.
Yeah, fuck.
What's going on with the Tiki Poo situation?
Well, now that you bring it up, Queens fined me $2,000. Another fucking ticket. Add that to the list of tickets I have now. So right now I'm about $5,000 in the hole, because at this point they're just trying to make an example of me, guys. They've been coming after me for years. First they're doing the ban me from places route. Then they're doing the negative headlines route. Now they're doing the financial route. There will be more routes. There will be criminal charge routes. There will be, hey, you did this, let's cancel you routes. But right now they're doing the financial one. And yeah, I got a $2,000 ticket for not leaving a street party because they apparently made a siren noise that was supposed to inform people that you have to leave. And since I did not leave immediately, $2,000 Tiki Poo.
Bro, the crazy thing about that $2,000 Tiki Poo is you didn't get it live in the action at Hoko, did you?
No, dude. I got it while I was getting my Virgin a haircut. Heard a knock on the door. 8 police showed up. Hey, you guys have to go to court. We have to go to court to fight a haircut.
Like, you could use a haircut too, buddy.
Yeah. Like the Virgin, Trainboy, McFuck all have to appear in summons court. And I asked the officer, I'm like, why do we have to go to court over this? Like, we're banned. We're not going to come back, whatever. What am I going to say? Like, yes, I was there and I was getting a haircut. I accept this ban. Like, stupid. But while they're there, like, we saw you last week at Hoko, so we're going to give you this ticket as well. And I was like, all right, whatever. Get this. In order to appeal it, you got to pay more money.
What?
$50 filing fee.
Are you serious?
Yeah, bro. The government's just fucking milking us for ways to charge us money. $2,000. I did not hear the siren.
There's no siren.
Way too fucking loud. Way too loud. And I also cooperate with the police the whole time. The police come up to me. They're like, hey, can you get these guys to go this way? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Can you megaphone them not to cross the street? There's cars coming. I was like, yeah, of course. Like, we work together. We are being a positive influence on the crowd when it comes to arranging groups to move off a certain part of the street, when it comes to telling people not to flip cars, not to throw stuff at police, not to damage property. Because if we were fucking Travis Scott and we're like, yo, let's just rage, fuck it, flip cars, bust through the fences, push over police, don't give a fuck about people around you, it would turn into a riot, right? So
yeah, bro.
We have a mutual respect with police on the street, but somebody higher up in the city, the universities, all those fuckers, they want to see me fall. They want to see us fall. They want to see content like this fall. But anyways, those assholes are on their own mission, and their mission is to, drag me through the dirt.
And not only you through the dirt.
No.
The crew through the dirt.
Yep. One of the crew members took an L. Trainboy, the fucking intern. I always tell you guys, like, DM me to be an intern. I need your help and shit. And as soon as you all did DM me, that's when my mom passed away. So I'm still trying to get through those emails. So guys, if you do want to intern, send me a DM, because it would be remote editing and stuff. But yeah, Trainboy, just by association of being there on the street, they tried to make an example out of him too. Fined him $2,000 as well.
And this isn't just Queens, by the way.
No.
This is Western.
This is Western.
Like 2 months after Western Hoko is calling him just now saying, hey, by the way,
yeah,
we know you were with Denmo. Come to court.
2 months later.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what? Why now? Like, what?
Here's the kicker. So they got the information to go after Trainboy from Kingston police. So all the police and universities are working together in cahoots to be like, yeah, let's just fuck these guys over and drain them financially. I got ticketed twice by Western. I'm fighting it. I had a lovely 20-minute conversation with the city where they refused to drop the fine. So now I have to go to court, which is free with Western. But, knowing them, they're going to find a way to charge me for that too. With Trainboy, they sent him 3 summons to court. No tickets, but from a summons, apparently in his words, it could be up to $5,000. Now that's bullshit.
They're picking on a intern, bro.
Crazy.
Like, they're bullying this kid, man.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, it makes me upset. It makes me very upset. And the craziest thing is, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat for a second, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just break this down, because this involves multiple police agencies collaborating together to pin Trainboy. And you by default.
Yeah.
So when we're on the street, right, the cops, they're chill. They're like, hey, Jack, can you get these kids off this lawn? You're like, yeah, no problem, man. And they're like, thanks, Jack. And they'll fist bump you. Some of them are like, yo, my daughter loves you. Can I get a pic? Some of the cops are like low-key fans.
That's always the best, man.
They're chill. All I'm saying is the police on the ground.
The OPP, the guys that come in.
Yeah, like very, I would say, amicable relationship. Like things are warm there. Now, if the chief of police was anti-Denmo, he wouldn't be like, yo, if Denmo's getting a haircut, ticket him a week later. He'd be like, hey, if Denmo's at Hoko, make an example out of that guy. Lock him up on the street, right? Like, if the chief of police really didn't like you, you'd be shut down right at the Hoko event, which leads me to believe the police on the street, they're order takers. They love you. They haven't had any orders from the chief of police to arrest you then and there, which means by default, the chief of police must be at the very least chill with you doing what you do. The fact that these tickets are coming out after the fact leads me to believe that both the Kingston police and the Western police are at the very least neutral Denmo, if not pro-Denmo, and there's someone above them who's anti-Denmo giving them orders that are moving down the chain. Who is this mysterious entity that both the London police and the Queen's Kingston police report up into? That is yet to be determined.
Provincial.
It's got to be provincial
with the DA's daughter or something.
That's a story for another day, Dean.
Allegedly.
Yeah, dude, there is somebody high up, man. Like, I've heard this too, because when I got banned from Western originally. So guys, just to be straightforward too, I'm now banned from pretty much every university in Ontario. Like Queen's, I'm banned from. That was like one of the last schools that I wasn't banned from. But yeah, when I was going through the original Western ban situation, I had some friends that were connected to police that I asked about, like, hey, like, why would they send police to my house and my parents' house just to give me a piece of paper that says you're banned, right? And they're like, that's so unusual. That's such a waste of time and resources. It's so unnecessary and extra. It's pure intimidation. The only reason somebody would do that and drive an hour and a half out of their way, because remember guys, I live far away from Western, is that somebody higher up does not like you and they're trying to send a message, right? And every message they've been sending apparently has gone to voicemail because I still go and do these fucking hokos just to troll and create a spectacle to get people in to join my cult, right? So yeah, like they've thrown everything at me now. They're gonna, you know what? They're gonna keep doing stuff like this, but it's gonna get more serious. It's gonna get more like, you know, accusations. It's gonna get more, you're banned from the whole city. You know,
Shit,
imagine
dude.
that, get banned from London. It's going to get nasty, guys. But I do want to say too, like we keep saying intern, getting fined. Like if you intern for me, you're not going to get fined. You're going to be doing editing. You're going to be filming off of campus. Like none of you guys that are reaching out to work for me or help me out with the podcast and stuff are going to be facing the same situation as Trainboy, okay? So it is misleading to say that interns are getting targeted. None of you guys helping out and doing internships for me are going to be dealing with that. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Obviously, we started off on a very negative note, the death of my mom and kind of going through that. And for me, it's very weird to open up that much about it to the internet. And I tried to be very respectful of the details of, you know, my family and the situation, obviously. But I did think it was important to put this out there because this is something not a lot of people go through. And it is something that they will eventually have to. And I want you guys to be ready for it. And most importantly, do me a favor, do everybody that you love a favor, call them and tell them that you love them, okay? Call your mom. I'm going to make a poster or sign. I'm going to get a sweater that says #call your mom on it because we all need to let the loved ones in our lives know that we love them, not only in case they pass away, but in case they think that we don't like them and they feel alone and it would drive them to do something. To say things without being blunt, make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If it's not clear, make sure people are loved because, you know, suicide rates are going up tremendously.
Like beyond that, bro, beyond just telling your mom you love her and your family, like be fucking nice to each other.
Yeah.
Like, man, so many people are out there leaving nasty comments on social media about people they don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And like even someone on the street, maybe you have road rage, you give them the finger, like you never know what someone is going through in their own life. And I feel like we're just so fast paced and we're so quick to just shit on everyone in this day and age. You never know what someone is battling in their own world.
It's so true, man.
We need to be nicer to each other, man. Like mental health, never been a harder time for it.
Yeah, man. Social
Addictions
media
and
too,
things
man.
like that. Social media, like
Young people, like
be kind.
Dude, there's so much that goes on social media, like because we've ingrained in our habits, right? Like betraying people, fucking people over, making fun of them publicly. I swear some people live in a fucking bubble. Like they have Travis Scott syndrome. They think that they're untouchable and they live in bizarro land and they have no idea what they're actually doing. Now, obviously different context. I'm talking about people that bully others, fuck people over and just do really shitty things to people that like them and support them. But yeah, guys, just be better people. Like, you know, nothing humbles you like the death of a family member and gives you perspective on that, right? And I hope you guys don't have to go through that to get that experience, but just trust me, just be better. Most episodes are going to go back to the normal format. Every couple of weeks, we'll do videos like this where it's not an interview. We just talk about interesting stuff. There's a couple other things we were going to touch on, some more topic-based stuff. We're going to do an episode on dating in the modern era, cuffing season in particular, because it is cuffing season, guys. We're in cuffing season right now.
Yep. Demo social.
Yeah, and we're going to do a video breaking down the pros and cons of getting into a relationship right now during cuffing season. And if there's any suggestions you guys have for stuff that you want to see, if you guys have ideas for this kind of format, things you want us to bring up, let us know. We're on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to give us a 5-star review. Spotify as well. Go to the Instagram, follow on there. The best way for a podcast to grow is to spread by word of mouth. So do me a solid. Tell your friends to listen to this episode. Send this to a loved one. Send this to somebody that has lost a loved one. Send this to somebody that's been an asshole lately, to your parents. Like if you have a brother that's just a total dick to your dad or mom, send them this episode so that they understand what they could potentially be doing to themselves and their families in the case of tragedy. And hopefully they become a better person because of it. Hopefully somebody can make a phone call to their mom or dad because of this video. Anyways, guys, I will see you later. Peace.